Hey guys, welcome to the restoration part 3 of this 1938 GE fan. Now this is me coming at you from the end of this video because I already finished this fan and I'm doing the intro later on, but if you want to see how this fan got from this to this, keep watching this video as I reassemble the fan and add some final touches to complete this restoration. Alright, I am back today. This is day 4. I did a little bit of time lapse prior to this one of the wiring, but I'm getting to the talking bit right now. So basically I have the head wire installed in the base here. I connected one of these ring terminals onto one of them, which will go onto the switch. And you just saw me clean up the contacts, and I also greased up some of the moving parts, so it's nice and smooth now. I also polished the little nut that goes on top of the switch. So here's the head wire. I installed this ring terminal. This one's going to be just connected to one of the power cord leads with a wire nut, so I'm not going to attach one of these. And here's the power cord that I'm going to be using. This is a 2-conductor 18 gauge wire with an SPT1 insulation. Basically, it's just this thinner wire that's a lot thinner than SPT2 wires, which are more commonly used today. So here is an example of an SPT2 wire. You can see that the insulation is quite a bit thicker than the SPT1. The wires inside, the conductors themselves are both 18 gauge, but the insulation around them is a lot thicker on the SPT2. And a lot of older fans and pretty much any other old appliances used SPT1 insulation. So I bought this. It was like a 25 feet pack, and I cut a 6.5 feet length. And I'm going to attach a plug to the other end. I have a new plug here, and I'm going to wire this up to the speed coil and the switch according to the diagram that I drew here. So let's give it a shot. Now, I just wanted to mention this off to the side. This is not always applicable, but if you are using a polarized plug, like the one I've got here that I'm going to be using on this fan, in most cases, fans will not care if you plug in one way or the other if you have a non-polarized plug. But if you are using a polarized plug, it's usually a good idea to connect the live side of the prong to the switch. So when the fan is powered off, the live connection is not energizing the motor. So that's something to keep in mind. If you have a non-polarized plug, like this plug here, here's an old vintage Leviton plug, but this has got a non-polarized pair of prongs, so they're the equal length. So if you have something like this, and it doesn't matter which way you plug it in, but if you are working with a polarized plug, it's a good idea to connect the live side to the switch. So I just wanted to mention with that. So we're going to carry on with the rewiring here. I'm going to reattach the switch and the speed coil, put it back into base, and we're going to give it a first test to make sure the motor runs. So going on with the wiring here, we're going to take a look at the diagram, and I have the switch oriented so the logo is pointing towards me. So here are the terminals right here, left, center, and right. And according to the diagram, we are supposed to connect one of the wires from the head wire, in this case the one I put the ring connector on, and the red wire from the speed coil. So we're going to do that. We're going to grab a screw here, and we will carefully connect this onto here, onto the head wire, and onto the switch. Now I'm not going to fully tighten this screw yet because we're going to have to work with the orientation in the base, so I don't want to wire them so the wire's already tight on the switch. So just going to hand tighten them for now. The second, or the center terminal, takes the AC power in. So this is the one I'm using for the connection. So we're going to just simply use the screw. This screw is brass, so it's not sticking to the screwdriver. No biggie. I'm going to do it by hand. Screw that in. Again, just going to hand tighten it. And lastly, the black wire from the speed coil, which is chilling here, goes to the terminal on the left. So we're going to do the same thing. And just hand tighten it. And the two remaining wires simply just connect to each other. So basically this is the junction right here that we need to connect. So we're going to take a wire nut right at the end before I put the base cover on. So now I'm going to just rearrange the stuff in here because I kind of want to make it tidy. I may need to put a knot in the cord, so I'm going to do that first. Alright, the electrical connections are all good. I put the plug end on it, making sure the live wire went to the switch. So we're going to plug it in and just test the motor before I put the blades on. So I'm going to plug it in. And let's test it on. Here it is on low first. Beautiful. Not sure if you can see it. Motor is running, so there's low speed. And let's try high speed. Beautiful. Let's see if the oscillation works. Tighten this real good. Perfect. Success. Alright, so let's put the base cover on and we will clean up the blades and the cage and we'll be done. Put new felt on the bottom. That's going to go under the base. The base is reattached, or the base cover. This is where the rivet little pins come out of. I had to bend them out and hide them in the felt, but that's looking good. So now we're going to work on the blades and the cage. We're almost there. I'm just in the process of balancing these blades at the moment. I'm just kind of eyeballing the pitch, the front and back angle, and also the clock of these blades. And they're looking pretty good. It's not perfect yet. I'm still working on it, but even with the blades slightly off balance, if you will, you can see the front end of the blade is still way out of balance, or way out of alignment. The blades are not shaking the fan at all, so, I mean, these are aluminum blades, so they're not that heavy, so that's understandable, but I want to get the blades in perfect balance to kind of complete the restoration. And I'm going to clean them up. They're still kind of dirty, so let's keep balancing, and I'll check back in once I'm done. Well, I'm just about to reinstall the blades, but I'm going to leave out this washer, which normally sits on the shaft in here between the bearing and the blades, and it's intended to keep the dust out, but I'm not really worried about it, and it also makes the oiling more difficult if that's in the way, so I'm just going to leave it out, and it should be fine without it. Well, I'm on the final step of the restoration. I'm working on the cage. I'm test fitting it to make sure the wires are all straight. It looks pretty good right now. I'm debating whether to paint the cage or not because there's quite a bit of rust on it, but at the same time I kind of want to keep the fan all original. So, I don't know, the paint's okay in some areas, but in other areas it's pretty bad. And polishing wouldn't help because the paint's all gone. I think I do have some black paint left in a spray can, but it's like almost empty, so I'm not sure if that's going to cover the entire cage. And I would hate it if I started painting and it ran out of paint. So I'm going to have to think about it a bit more. Here's the badge that I'm working on. There's a bit of a dent here, so I'm trying to hammer it out carefully with a screwdriver with a blunt tip like that and a hammer. Hopefully we'll get that straightened out. I'm going to polish the badge. These scratches are kind of embedded in the badge, so I won't be able to get them out, but I think it's going to look okay once I get it shiny. So I'll think about the cage a bit more. If I do end up repainting it, it might take a couple more days for it to dry, but we'll have to see. just gonna go outside and repaint it. That's what I decided. It turns out I do have some spray paint left over, so I'm going to prime it, paint it, and that should be the last step. I just came back inside from painting this cage, and it turned out pretty good. The primer that I used was Rust-Oleum's gray primer, then I followed it up with some gloss black paint by Rust-Oleum. It was the Painter's Touch 2X gloss black paint, and it looks pretty darn good. Now the reason why the finish isn't perfectly smooth is because the 2 cans that I had remaining of the gloss black paint were almost empty, so I was just trying to squeeze the last bit of paint out of them, and they were kind of spitting and sputtering, so the paint coming out wasn't perfectly smooth, but I think it looks okay. It kind of reflects the imperfect original paint on the cage, even though this is a brand new paint job. So I'm going to let this cure for about minimum 3 or 4 days, ideally 2 weeks, but I'm not really that patient right now, so for a couple days, and I'm going to reinstall it on the van, and we will be done. I've added some final touches to the badge. The shine on it's pretty nice. I filled in most of the severe worn out background paint. Now unfortunately some of the gouges on the bottom are just way too bad for me to be able to repair them, so I'm going to leave them alone. But honestly, from a good distance, it's hard to tell that they're even there, so I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm happy with how it turned out. Now here's something completely random that I just kind of noticed off to the side. These pins here on the base, which holds the base cover on, appear to be made of brass. And I'm not sure how I didn't notice it when I was polishing them, but now just seeing it compared to the switch, you can see that it has much more of a golden tone to them. So I like that contrast, it's pretty nice. And here it is, all complete and now fully restored. I'm very happy with how it turned out. I honestly couldn't have asked for a better first restoration of an antique fan. It looks so good, and everything cleaned up well. Cage has new paint, looks good. The base and the motor paint is original. It shined up beautifully. Oh man. So happy right now. Here's the side view of it. And I have it plugged in right now so we can give it a test run. So here it is. Let's give it a first test run after reassembly and its complete restoration. Here it is on speed 2, which in this case is low speed. And it runs beautifully. I currently have it on non-oscillating mode. Also, my dad's vacuuming upstairs at the moment, so there's a bit of background noise. But the fan's quiet, runs great, smooth. Next to no vibration. blades are in very, very good balance. Let's turn it up to speed 1, high speed. The amount of air this thing is kicking out is amazing. And it sounds really nice too. Let's try the oscillation here. Nice wide angle oscillation. Let's see it on low speed. I like that this fan has a very distinct difference between low and high speed. And low speed is definitely the speed that I'm going to be using it the most at, because it's much quieter, still moving a lot of air, and the oscillation speed is a lot more appealing. It's just beautiful. I'll shut off the oscillation once it centers and tighten it the other way so it kind of locks the head in place. And we'll do a spin down. Alright, that is the 1938 General Electric Catalog number 49X929 12-inch oscillating fan. My first almost antique fan restoration, which I'm very happy with the result. And I'm definitely going to use this fan quite a bit, even though summer's pretty much over this year, but in the coming years, this fan's going to get plenty of use. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little mini-series on the complete restoration of this GE fan. Stay tuned for more videos, which are coming soon, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.